As we pass through the first 7 lessons, perhaps within each of us a seed has already been planted, a seed of listening, of inner observation, of facing ourselves in the silence of each journal page, in the slow rhythm of our breath, or in those quiet moments of asking, who am I in this vast life? These lessons are not meant to turn us into a different person overnight, but rather to remind us that change is a journey, step by step, day by day, like a winding mountain path, sometimes flat, sometimes steep, yet if we place each step with patience, one day we will stand upon the summit, where life's panorama becomes clearer. Stoicism has never been a distant philosophy. It is not confined to thick books merely for admiration. It is present in every daily experience, in a word that saddens us, in a loss that pains us, or in the simple joy of sitting by a warm cup of tea in the morning. The Romans once lived with this philosophy as naturally as breathing, and today, we too can continue that spirit, to live more firmly in this turbulent century. The things we have shared together, from journaling to converse with ourselves, to learning how to observe and guide emotions instead of suppressing them, are like the first bricks laid for the foundation of inner peace. Yet the journey does not stop there, for life is not made of a few simple turns. It holds many trials, many adversities that demand from us more wisdom, more inner strength to face them. Imagine for a moment, one day you wake up and know that everything around you can change at any moment. Loved ones may depart, work may be lost, health may decline. Will you collapse or stand firm? Stoicism teaches us one thing: no one escapes life's upheavals, but each of us can choose how to respond. And that choice is the key that unlocks inner freedom. As we step into the next 10 lessons, there will be times when they feel both familiar and new. Familiar because they arise from everyday experiences. New because they allow us to see life through different eyes, the eyes of someone who knows how to accept, how to let go, and also how to hold on to what truly matters. This is not a journey in search of perfection. Stoicism never asks us to become motionless beings, cold before every event. On the contrary, it encourages us to be fully human, to feel pain, to feel sorrow, to feel joy, yet at the same time to master ourselves, not to be swept away in the storm of emotions. In the coming part, we will explore deeper Stoic wisdom, how to live in harmony with nature, how to face adversity without fear, how to nurture serenity in the soul even when the outer world is full of storms. These lessons will be like torches, illuminating each step of our long road ahead. So, before we begin, allow me to pause for a moment, take a deep breath, gently release the worries that surround you, and open your heart to listen not only with your ears, but with your whole being. For what is about to be shared is not only the philosophy of those who lived thousands of years ago, but also a message that life itself whispers to each of us. Lesson 8. Practicing daily gratitude. You ever notice that in the rush of our daily lives, the very first thing that comes to mind upon waking is often worry? What do I have to do today? Will I make it on time? How will that situation turn out? Rarely do we stop to ask ourselves, what can I be grateful for today? The Stoics, thousands of years ago, left us with a very simple yet profoundly powerful practice: to exercise gratitude, every morning upon waking, and every evening before going to sleep. This may sound simple, but it is precisely this simplicity that makes it enduring. For gratitude requires no conditions, no grand gifts. It only requires an awakened soul that realizes that just to live, just to breathe, is already a gift. The Stoics believed that gratitude nourishes peace of mind, like a small but steadfast lamp that can shine even in the darkest times. When we practice gratitude, our minds stop chasing after what we do not yet have, and return instead to what is already present. This does not mean giving up dreams or surrendering, but rather learning to savor fullness in the present moment. Imagine this: a person who always feels lacking is like a thirsty traveler wandering in the desert, seeing scarcity everywhere. But a person who practices gratitude is like one who drinks a cool sip of water, cherishes every drop, and from that, their inner strength multiplies. Gratitude is also a powerful remedy that lessens our endless desires. In modern society, we are constantly pulled by invitations to have more, own more, reach farther. Yet once we practice gratitude, we begin to see that most of what we truly need for a peaceful life is already here. Instead of being bound by relentless ambition, gratitude frees us and grants us inner liberty. One special point emphasized by the Stoics is this: gratitude steadies the mind in the face of loss. Usually, when we lose something, a loved one, an opportunity, a possession, we suffer because we believe it should have been ours forever. But the Stoics saw it differently. Everything that comes into life is a temporary gift. Instead of demanding permanence, let us be grateful for having once experienced it, once shared in it, once touched it. And when it departs, gratitude allows us to let go without breaking apart. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years, even breathing, seeing the light, talking with a friend, all are gifts." His words not only remind us of life's fragility but also open a door when gratitude becomes a daily habit. Each of our days is filled with simple joy. Practicing gratitude does not require complexity. Each morning you can write down 3 things you are grateful for. They may be very small, a cool breeze, a warm cup of water, or someone's smile. And each night, before sleep, remind yourself, today, what has been a gift to me? With this practice, even when facing trials or losses, you will still keep your peace, because you have learned to see light within the darkness. That is the 8th Stoic lesson. Gratitude is not a fleeting emotion, but a daily practice. And once you practice it with patience, it will become a source of strength that nourishes your inner freedom. Lesson 9. Everything begins with awareness. When we were children, we often thought of emotions as something that simply happened to us, suddenly and completely beyond our control. We cried when we were sad, shouted when we were angry, laughed loudly when we were happy. Yet, as we grew older, we came to realize another truth. Emotions are not our enemies. What causes our suffering does not lie in the emotions themselves, but in the way we react to them. The Stoics pointed out an important distinction. We cannot always control when emotions arise, but we can always control how we choose to respond. Someone insults you, and you feel anger. That is a natural reaction, but anger does not necessarily have to turn into rude behavior, harsh words, or reckless decisions. Anger is merely a signal, like a red light flashing on the dashboard of a car, reminding you that something is not right. If we are aware, we will pause, observe, and ask, why am I angry? What have I lost here? Is it my honor, my pride, or just a bit of vanity? The Stoics believe that true freedom begins with self-mastery. We can be slaves to many things: money, fame, desire, or even to our own unchecked emotions. A man may possess an entire kingdom, but if he cannot master his anger, he is still a slave. On the other hand, an ordinary person, living in a small house, if able to master his mind, has already attained a freedom that even many kings did not possess. Emotions, in the Stoic view, are not to be eliminated or denied. They are simply signals. Signals that tell us how we are perceiving the world. Fear may reveal that we are anxious about what has not yet come. Sadness may show that we are clinging to what is already gone. Anger often exposes that we are expecting too much from others or from circumstances. Therefore, the key lies in awareness. When we learn to take one step back, to observe our emotions instead of being swept away by them, we begin to have choices. The choice to respond calmly instead of impulsively. The choice to remain silent instead of engaging in useless arguments. The choice to forgive instead of allowing hatred to eat away at us day by day. Epictetus once said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but the way we look at them." A single word can humiliate us, but it can also pass like the wind, if we choose not to let it wound our pride. An unexpected event can be a tragedy, but it can also be an opportunity to strengthen our resilience. If we learn to change our perspective, awareness is the beginning. It is like a lamp that lights the way in the dark. Without it, we walk unconsciously, letting emotions drag us from one direction to another. But once that lamp is lit, we know where we are, and more importantly, we know which path we can choose to walk. There is a short story often told in the past. A student asked his teacher, "Master, how can I conquer my anger?" The teacher replied, "You cannot stop the wind from blowing, but you can build walls to block it or raise sails to guide its course." Emotions are the same. You cannot prevent them from arising, but you can choose how to let them guide your life. How many times in life have we regretted acting in a moment of anger? How many times have we wished that, in that instant, we had been calmer, more patient, more aware? Yet sadly, such moments often pass very quickly. The Stoics advised us, practice from the smallest things. When someone cuts in line ahead of you, see it as an opportunity to observe the irritation that arises within. When a criticism makes you upset, see it as an opportunity to reflect on your own ego. We do not need to become unfeeling. Stoicism does not teach us to live like stone, without emotion or love. On the contrary, Stoicism teaches us to live more fully with a clear mind, not bound or enslaved by impulsive emotions. In the end, this lesson reveals a simple truth. Everything begins with awareness. If we do not notice our anger, we will let it control us. If we do not notice our fear, we will let it imprison us. But if we can recognize them in time, we have the power to choose. And within that choice, we find freedom. Try beginning today. When an emotion arises, do not rush to judge it as good or bad. Simply stand still for a moment, observe it, call it by its name. That alone is already a great step forward on the journey of self-mastery. Lesson 10. The end of life as a great teacher. There is an undeniable truth that each of us must face, whether we wish to or not. The journey of life does not last forever, and sooner or later, the time will come when we must leave this world. The ancients called this impermanence. For the Stoic philosophers, impermanence was neither a source of fear nor a shadow of dread, but rather a silent teacher patiently guiding us to treasure each moment of our existence. The Stoics practiced something well known, memento mori, remember that you too shall die. At first, it may sound heavy or somber, yet if we look calmly and deeply, we will see that it is not a threat, but an awakening bell. It reminds us that our time is not infinite, and it is precisely this limitation that makes every day, every hour, all the more precious. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Live each day as if it were your last. Do not let trivialities distract your mind from what truly matters." He did not urge us to surrender or despair, but rather to live mindfully, to live worthily, so that if tomorrow never comes, we can still smile, knowing that today we lived fully. Think for a moment, how many times have we been angry over petty things? How many times have we delayed what truly matters, chasing instead after shallow desires? It is because we forget the fragility of human life that we imagine we still have plenty of time. But once we remember that tomorrow is never guaranteed, we immediately change how we choose to live today. A Stoic does not use impermanence to instill fear. They use it to purify the soul of what is unnecessary. If tomorrow is uncertain, would we still waste time in pointless quarrels, in endless comparisons, in hoarding things that bring no peace? Or would we choose instead to speak words of love, to forgive, to seize the opportunities available to us in this very moment? Seen in this way, impermanence becomes the clearest mirror, reflecting back to us what truly matters. It urges us, spend time with loved ones, write the book you always dreamed of, begin the project you kept postponing, say thank you to those who have helped you, because nothing guarantees that we will still have endless tomorrows to delay. May argue that to think often of impermanence is to invite sorrow, yet, strangely enough, the Stoics found peace in it. For when we accept impermanence, we no longer tremble before it. We learn to let go, to focus on what is within our reach. And because of this, we live lighter, freer. Epictetus once advised, "Do not fear your last day, for it is beyond your control. Instead, fear living your life without ever waking up." Indeed, the true tragedy is not death itself, but never having truly lived while we were here. Let us imagine if today were our last day, how would we live? Would we pass by the eyes of those we love without a glance? Would we abandon our own dreams? Or would we live every moment to the fullest, give kindness freely, and work with passion as if no other chance would come? This is the spirit of memento mori. It does not rob us of joy, but instead deepens it. It helps us dwell less on the regrets of the past, worry less about the future, and return to live wholeheartedly in the present. The Stoics teach that when we learn to face impermanence directly, fear gives way to gratitude. Gratitude for waking up each morning, gratitude for still having chances to love, to work, to grow, and this gratitude nurtures within us a quiet strength, a strength unshaken by anything. This lesson, at first, may seem stern. Yet, in truth, it is a gift. It helps us realign our lives, so that we no longer squander time on what does not matter. It reminds us, live as a free human being, fully aware of the value of each fleeting moment, and once we truly understand this, impermanence is no longer a looming shadow. It becomes a teacher, a companion, always gently reminding us, live in a way that is truly worthy. 5. Lesson 5. Separating events and judgments. The Stoics advise us to learn how to separate events from judgments. Because events themselves are neutral, they carry no inherent meaning. Meaning only appears when we place our thoughts, feelings, and evaluations upon them. When someone speaks harsh words to you, that is merely sound, merely words. But when we think, they are looking down on me, or I am being insulted, it is these judgments that give rise to anger. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, once taught his students, it is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about those events. This is the crucial distinction between what happens externally and how we perceive it internally. So how do we practice this? The Stoics often used one guiding question: is this the event, or merely my judgment? When facing a situation that stirs the mind, pause, and ask yourself, for example, when someone criticizes you, the event is the person spoke those words. The feeling of being hurt comes from the judgment. Those words prove I am worthless. If we can recognize this separation, anger immediately softens, and we are no longer dragged into the storm of emotion. Marcus Aurelius lived in a world full of uncertainty, wars, plagues, political conspiracies, yet he remained calm, because he understood we cannot control events, but we can control the way we interpret them. This is the secret of inner freedom. In daily life, we can practice with the smallest situations. When stuck in traffic for hours, instead of fuming, we acknowledge the event. The road is crowded, the cars are not moving. The judgment, everything is terrible, only makes us suffer more. When we lose an item, the event is, the object is no longer here, but the thought, I am careless, I am useless, is what truly causes pain. With constant practice, we realize that most suffering does not come from the world, but from our judgments about the world. And if we can change our perspective, peace arises even in adversity. The Stoics do not deny emotions, they remind us that emotions are born from judgments. Clarity means seeing what is the objective event, and what is the color we ourselves have painted onto it. Once we see clearly, we can truly govern ourselves. Thus, awareness, not suppression, is the key. We do not need to force ourselves to feel nothing. We only need to remain mindful. The lesson here is not just a philosophy, but a daily practice. Listen to your mind, observe your reactions, and always ask, is this really the nature of the event, or just the way I see it? That question, repeated again and again, becomes a mirror of the soul, helping us maintain tranquility in any circumstance. Lesson 12. Virtue, the compass of life. On the long journey of life, we often stand at crossroads, where we must choose between the easier path and the harder one, between immediate benefits and long-term values, between chasing fleeting emotions or acting according to reason. In such moments, the Stoics left us with a steady guide: virtue. Marcus Aurelius once said, if something is in line with virtue, do it. If not, refrain. This reminder is simple, yet it is like a compass, helping us stay on course amidst the storms of life. The Stoics divided virtue into 4 pillars: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These 4 pillars are like the 4 directions of a compass, guiding us toward what we should pursue and warning us against what we should avoid. Let us pause for a moment and look into each pillar first. Wisdom. Wisdom is not merely knowledge, but the ability to distinguish what is truly important from what is trivial. In moments when emotions arise, wisdom helps us pause and ask, is this an objective truth, or merely my interpretation? A wise person is not someone who never makes mistakes, but someone who learns from them and adjusts their actions toward what is right. Second, courage. Courage is not only charging into battle or confronting danger, but also the strength to face the fears within our own soul. Sometimes courage is speaking the truth, even if it displeases others. Sometimes it is choosing the harder path, rather than compromising with what is wrong. The Stoics remind us, true freedom does not come from avoidance, but from facing reality with calm acceptance. Third, justice. Justice is the ability to place the common good above our small self. The Stoics believed that human beings are born to live together, to cooperate, and to help one another. Every action we take affects the community around us. Therefore, justice is not only about respecting the rights of others, but also about acting with kindness, fairness, and integrity. A just decision is always one that honors human dignity. And finally, temperance. Temperance is the art of knowing when to stop. In a world full of temptations of wealth, fame, and invisible desires, temperance becomes the brake that keeps us from plunging into the abyss of greed and excess. Temperance does not mean rejecting joy, but knowing how to enjoy just enough, without becoming a slave to desire. When these 4 virtues come together, they form the compass that guides us through every storm. And in each situation of life, we can ask ourselves, does this reaction align with wisdom? Does this action require courage? Does this decision uphold justice? And finally, am I keeping temperance in my heart? Simply by returning to these questions, we can reflect on ourselves and find the right path. Imagine someone who feels anger after being insulted. If they let emotions control them, they will respond with harsh words, causing harm to both sides. But if they pause and look to the compass of virtue, they will see, wisdom reminds them that the insult is just someone else's opinion, not their true worth. Courage tells them to remain calm instead of exploding. Justice points out that responding with kindness is the way to restore balance, and temperance helps them stop before anger consumes them. Thus, virtue is not some distant concept, but a living practice in every moment of daily life. It appears in how we speak to loved ones, in how we work with colleagues, and even in how we face ourselves in times of failure. The Stoics believed, to live a happy life is not to have more, but to live in accordance with virtue. For wealth can be lost, fame can fade, but virtue, if we preserve it, will always stay with us, like a shining light, and like a compass. It does not promise the road will always be easy, but it ensures we will always walk in the right direction. Lesson 13. Mastery of the inner self. True freedom. There is an old story about a man who seemed to have lost everything, yet possessed something more precious than any throne or treasure. That man was Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, born into slavery. His body could be chained, beaten, or subjected to hardship, but his soul and his mind could never be imprisoned. He once said, "No one can harm you unless you allow it to happen in your mind." When we reflect deeply, we see that true freedom does not lie in owning wealth or living without restrictions. Real freedom lies in the ability to govern our own inner world. Life is always in flux, sometimes favorable, sometimes adverse. If we let the external world dictate our emotions, then even in a palace we are nothing more than prisoners of worry. But if we master our minds, even in hardship we can live with serenity. Ask yourself, how many times have you grown angry simply because of someone's careless words? How many nights have you lost sleep over matters that, in hindsight, were trivial? In such moments, we are no different from slaves, not to chains, but to our own emotions. The Stoics emphasized that emotions are not enemies, they are natural responses. The question is whether we let them steer our actions. When we are angry, we can choose silence rather than words that wound. When we are afraid, we can choose to pause and reflect rather than be carried away by anxiety. True freedom lies in this power to choose our response. Epictetus lived as a slave, yet his spirit was freer than that of many rulers. For he refused to grant anyone the authority to govern his thoughts or emotions. His story reminds us of an essential truth. Peace does not come from the outside, but from within. Marcus Aurelius, the great emperor, once wrote in Meditations, "The mind becomes invincible when it learns to stand firm against what happens outside it." An emperor who ruled a vast empire and a slave confined by chains both arrived at the same insight. True freedom is an inner state, not a matter of circumstances. Look around and you will see countless people chasing an illusion of freedom. Freedom to buy, freedom to indulge, freedom to go wherever they please. And yet, the more choices they have, the more they are trapped in restlessness. They fear losing what they possess, fear not measuring up to others, fear that everything may slip away. It is this very fear that imprisons them. The Stoics teach us another path. Let go of what you cannot control, and hold fast to the one thing that truly belongs to you, your mind. By doing so, you free yourself. Don't imagine waking up tomorrow to heavy rain, your plans for the day disrupted. If you grow angry and complain, the rain will not change, it only makes your heart heavier. But if you smile, accept it, and find another way to adjust, then rain is simply rain, nothing more. So where is freedom? It does not depend on whether it rains, but on how we choose to respond. Mastery of the inner self is not easy, but it is a discipline we can cultivate. Each time an emotion arises, pause and ask, do I want to let this feeling control me? One brief pause, one deep breath, is enough to remind us that we are the masters of our own minds. And as we practice, we discover something remarkable. No person, no event can truly harm us, unless we allow it. Insults become passing winds. Losses become lessons. Worries become opportunities to strengthen resilience. Epictetus once told his students, if you wish to be free, let go of what does not belong to you. Freedom is not a life without difficulties, but a life where difficulties cannot steal your peace. Perhaps this is the lesson we need most as the years go by. For the longer we live, the more we see that life will never be perfect. And yet, within this imperfection, we can find another kind of freedom, the freedom of the soul. Thus, the lesson of inner mastery is not a distant philosophy, but the very key to peace, present in every breath, every thought, and every response we make. Lesson 14. The practice of negative visualization, preparing the mind for life. The Stoics had a peculiar habit, one that at first sounds strange. They deliberately imagined misfortunes before they happened. This exercise is called malorum, the premeditation of evils. At first it may seem pessimistic, but in truth, it is one of the most powerful practices in Stoic philosophy. Why is this so? Because most of our suffering does not come from the event itself, but from the shock when the unexpected strikes. A person who never considers the possibility of failure will collapse in despair when failure comes. A person who never reflects on loss will be shattered when loss finally arrives. But if the mind has already rehearsed such scenarios with reason and imagination, then when adversity strikes, we are not crushed. Instead, we retain the calm needed to act wisely. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Begin each day by telling yourself, 'Today I may encounter an ungrateful man, a deceitful man, arrogant man, a selfish man, but none of these can harm me, for I have prepared my mind to face them.'" This is negative visualization applied to daily life. Why is this practice important? It reduces shock. By imagining what could go wrong, we are not thrown into panic when it happens. It deepens gratitude. By remembering the possibility of loss, we learn to value what we have more fully. It strengthens resolve, instead of asking, "Why me?" In hardship, we ask, "How should I respond with virtue?" The Stoics never advised us to dwell on tragedy or sink into constant worry. They taught us to use reason to train the soul. Like a soldier drilling before battle, the more we prepare, the steadier we stand when the real fight begins. A practical example: imagine you are preparing for an important presentation. If you believe everything will surely go perfectly, then one small glitch, a broken microphone, a faulty slide can throw you into chaos. But if beforehand you calmly think, the microphone may break, the slides may fail, and if they do, I will rely on my voice and my memory, then when problems arise, you are ready to adapt. The same is true for a business person who knows that betrayal, loss, and failure are possible. Such a person will not be devastated by setbacks, but remain calm enough to search for solutions. How to practice. See it's morning before the day begins. Quietly reflect, what could go wrong today? Perhaps the train will be late, a colleague will be rude, or plans will change. Accept these as possibilities before they happen. In work, before starting a project, consider the risks and prepare your mind, as well as practical responses. In personal life, remember that everything you love, possessions, work, even loved ones, is fragile and impermanent. This thought is not meant to make you cold, but to help you cherish each moment more deeply. A Stoic reminder: Epictetus once told his students, "When you kiss your child, whisper to yourself, you are kissing a mortal being, not something that will last forever. If tomorrow they are gone, you will still remain at peace." This is not cruelty. It is the deepest form of love, awake, present, and without delay. When we recognize the fragility of life, we love more fiercely, without taking anything for granted. Conclusion: negative visualization does not make us pessimistic. It makes us prepared. It is a shield for the spirit, protecting us from surprise in misfortune and from blindness in prosperity. With it, we live more realistically, more steadily, and with greater strength in the face of life's changes. The Stoics understood, we cannot control the external world, but we can prepare our inner world, and in that preparation we discover freedom. Lesson 15. Valuing time. The most precious asset. There is one thing each of us is given equally: time. Whether you are an emperor like Marcus Aurelius or a poor slave like Epictetus, every day grants only 24 hours, no more, no less. The difference lies in how we choose to spend that limited allotment. The Stoics constantly remind us, time is our most valuable asset, for once it slips away, no wealth on earth can buy it back. Seneca once wrote in on the shortness of life, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." His words are both a wake-up call and a sharp blade that cuts through the illusions of modern life. We often live as though we have endless tomorrows, while today passes by in distraction, procrastination, and trivial tasks that bring no real value. Time, what cannot be regained, money lost can be earned again. Status lost can be rebuilt. But an hour wasted, a day gone, never returns. This is why Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning, "This day may be my last," not to inspire fear, but to compel him to live deliberately, awake to every moment. How many hours have we mindlessly scrolled through screens, only to complain later that we had no time? How many opportunities for love, for conversation, for growth have we let pass, believing there would always be more time? The Stoics warn that is one of life's most dangerous illusions. The art of living. Placing value on every moment to cherish time does not mean rushing frantically or treating ourselves as machines of productivity. The Stoics did not advocate tension, but presence. This requires mindfulness. When eating, truly taste the food instead of scrolling through your phone. When speaking with a loved one, listen with your whole heart instead of drifting into worries. When working, give full attention instead of letting the mind wander into past regrets or future anxieties. For the Stoics, every present moment is life itself. The past is gone, the future is uncertain only, the present is real. Guarding against wasting time, Seneca also warned, people are frugal with their money, but wasteful with their time, the one thing about which it is right to be stingy. We often surrender hours to meaningless conversations, empty gatherings, or relationships that drag us down. Yet time should be guarded more carefully than treasure. A useful practice is to ask, if today were my last day, would I spend my time on this? If the answer is no, then a change is needed. Valuing time equals focusing on what truly matters. When we realize time is finite, we begin to prioritize. We no longer waste energy on pointless quarrels, vain competitions, or hollow desires. Instead, we ask, does this matter to the life I wish to live? Does this align with my values and virtue? Epictetus reminded, do not waste what remains of your life on what is outside your control. Focus instead on what you can do today. By centering our attention, each day becomes lighter yet far more meaningful. Stoic practice. Honoring each day, the Stoics used daily practices to remind themselves of time's value. One was morning and evening journaling. In the morning, how will I use my time today? How can I live without waste? In the evening, how did I spend my hours? What could I have done better? Another was memento mori, remembering that life is finite. This reflection is not morbid, but liberating. It turns every day into a treasure. Conclusion. Time as a mirror of life. In the end, time does more than measure life. It reveals what we truly value. Whatever we spend our hours on, that is the life we are choosing. If we devote our time to anger, envy, and vanity, then that is the shape of our life. But if we invest it in learning, love, service, and virtues, then our life becomes meaningful. Stoics teach us, to value time is to value life itself. Every moment lived with awareness is a moment truly lived. Lesson 16. Mastery is a process, not a destination. One of the greatest illusions we carry through life is the belief that one day we will finally arrive at perfection, at complete mastery, at a state where no doubt, no turmoil, no mistakes remain. But Stoicism reminds us, self-mastery is not a destination to reach, but a lifelong journey. Epictetus once taught, no one becomes a philosopher overnight. Each day is practice. A simple truth lies in these words. Inner peace does not come in a sudden flash of enlightenment, but in the quiet accumulation of small efforts made day after day. 1. A journey, not an endpoint of life, is like a long road. Self-mastery is not a milestone at the end, but the way we walk each stretch of it. A person training in patience cannot expect to master it in a week or even a year. Again and again, he will be tested through insults, delays, and disappointments. At each test, he has two choices: surrender to emotion or return to principle. Each time he chooses the latter, he takes a small step forward. No one else may notice, but that step is etched into his character, slowly shaping a stronger soul. 2. Peace comes from small progress. Many imagine peace will only arrive when they achieve perfect stoicism, never shaken, always calm, free of all negative feelings. But true peace is born from recognizing and appreciating small progress. Yesterday, anger came quickly when criticized. Today, though still unsettled, you pause, breathe, and respond more calmly. That is progress. And within that progress, peace begins to take root. The joy of knowing you are growing, however slowly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not expect the perfect philosopher. Be content if each day you make some progress, however small." His words are a cure for perfectionism, which blinds us to our growth by making us despair over weakness instead of valuing our steps forward. 3. Mistakes. The raw material of growth. No journey is free of missteps. The Stoics never expected flawless strength. Instead, they viewed mistakes as essential to practice. A stumble is not failure, but a chance to learn. Think of the blacksmith. To forge a blade, he must hammer it hundreds of times, heat, strike, quench, repeat. If one round falters, it is not the end, but part of the process of hardening steel. So too with us. Our errors and weaknesses, revealed in trials, are the very material that shapes our resilience. Epictetus reminded his students, welcome challenges, for they give you the chance to practice virtue. One who never falls has never truly grown. 4. A lifelong practice. Stoicism insists on this truth. Until our final breath, we remain students. No one can claim to have fully mastered their emotions, thoughts, or life. Each stage brings new trials. In youth, impulses and desires test us. In midlife, responsibilities and pressures. In old age, the nearness of death and the limits of time. At every stage, the lessons change, and so must our practice. Mastery is never finished. It is always becoming. 5. Practices for daily life. How can we embody this spirit of mastery as process? Meet mistakes with humility, not with harsh self-condemnation nor with denial, simply with the attitude. This too is a lesson. Notice small progress. Each calm response, each temptation resisted, is a step. Remember the long road. There is no need to rush, no need to be perfect, only to persist. Treat each day as training. Each morning is another chance to practice. 6. Closing reflection. Self is not some shining endpoint we chase in vain. It is the road itself, walked with awareness. Peace does not come from perfection, but from progress. Growth does not come from avoiding mistakes, but from learning through them. Lived this way, every day becomes a small victory. Every step shapes a freer, steadier soul. Stoicism does not promise a final arrival, but it offers a compass for the journey, and that compass, faithfully followed, is true freedom. Lesson 17. Knowing what lies within and beyond our control. Among all the insights the Stoics left humanity, perhaps none is more foundational than the principle Epictetus repeated. Some things are within our control, others are not. At first glance, it seems simple, but truly living by this distinction is the key to inner freedom and tranquility. 1. What lies within our control? Epictetus made it clear. Our thoughts, our judgments, our desires, our choices, and our actions, these belong fully to us. By contrast, health, wealth, reputation, what others think of us, 7, our fate itself remain beyond our control. We may influence them, but never command them. For example, we can choose to live healthily, eat well, and exercise, yet illness may still come. We can choose to work hard and act with integrity, yet we cannot force others to love or praise us. 2. The common mistake. Reversing control. Humans often fall into the same paradox. We pour energy into what lies beyond us, while neglecting what is truly ours. We worry about opinions, despair over lost possessions, rage at injustices we cannot change. Yet we rarely pause to ask, how am I responding? Can I choose a different perspective? By losing this distinction, we create our own suffering, exhausted by chasing what cannot be held, blind to the freedom we already possess. 3. The secret of tranquility. Stoicism is not passive resignation. It is active focus on the one domain, where our freedom is real, our judgments, our reactions, our way of living each day. When hardship strikes, the Stoic asks, what here is within my control, and what must I let go because it is not? A storm comes. We cannot stop the wind or silence the rain, but we can prepare wisely, remain calm, help others, and accept the rest as nature's course. This clarity, knowing what to hold and what to release, creates unshakable tranquility. For true freedom. Epictetus, once a slave, could not control his external fate, yet he declared, no one can enslave my mind. Others may seize possessions, strip power, even wound the body, but they cannot touch the freedom of the soul unless we surrender it through fear, anger, or despair. The great lesson: freedom does not come from mastering the world, but from mastering ourselves. 5. Daily practice. The Stoics suggest a simple discipline. Each time emotions rise, ask, is this within my control, or not? If not, let it go. If yes, what action accords with virtue? 2 questions, enough to bring the mind back to stillness, enough to anchor us in clarity. Closing the circle of Stoic life. 7. Lessons from Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. We have gathered reminders of mortality, the value of time, the practice of virtue, the strength of inner mastery, all orbit around one axis, living awake, with virtue, and in inner freedom. The Stoics never promised a painless life. They offered something greater, a map. With it, no matter the storm, we can walk with calm, with courage, and with a soul unshaken, seen in full. The lessons form a circle, knowing what lies within and beyond our control. Lesson 17. Mastering the inner life. Lesson 13. Closing parenthesis. Living with virtue. Lesson 12. Valuing time. Lesson 15. Practicing premeditatio malorum, negative visualization. Lesson 14. and remembering always that mastery is a lifelong journey. Lesson 16. The circle leads us back to the core. True freedom does not reside in the world outside, but in the heart and mind within. So, when life confronts you, ask 3 questions. How am I responding? Does this response align with virtue? Is this within my control? Practiced faithfully, these questions reshape us more tranquil, more clear, more free. And one day, looking back, we will see that Stoicism was never just philosophy. It became a way of living, a compass steadying us through every storm, allowing us to walk the world with the stillness of a mountain and the light of a torch. Thus ends the series of 17 Stoic lessons. A circle closes but also opens anew. For the real journey begins not in words, but in practice, lived each day.